to the end zone. Caught. Touchdown.
Welcome, y'all, to the Straight Outta WAC Pigskin podcast. I am the Rev, Dustin Helton. Coming to you after a week off. I guess you can call it my bye week. Apologies for not being here. I was actually at a work event in Vegas at Apex and SEMA, so unfortunately I just had to take a week off. But what a week to take off. So much stuff happened last week with conference realignment, and that impacts the WAC and also the ASUN, the partner with the WAC for the AQ7. So there's lots to talk about. So we're going live on YouTube. Drop questions in here if you have questions. I've already got a couple before this about conference realignment, which I'll touch. I'm going to go through the games real quick last week, matchups this coming week, and then we can get into the bread and butter about all the news that's going on. So let's do a quick recap from last week's games. So first of all, Dixie State, the team with the Harder Lions, traveled to Huntsville, played Sam Houston. That finals 59-10. Got to applaud Dixie State again. I've said on every podcast they are playing the toughest schedule on the planet, and if strength of schedule could get them a playoff seed, man, they would earn it regardless of the result, because I think they have the toughest schedule currently in FCS. But 59-10 wasn't a pretty game. Sam was up 35-0. Basically, early second quarter. Eric Schmidt had a great game. Sam basically in the first quarter had the trifecta, because they had Eric Schmidt threw a touchdown, then they had Jahari K get a fumble recovery for a touchdown, and then they had a field goal block that was returned by Jalen Thomas for a touchdown. So in the first quarter, insane. And then their fourth touchdown was actually on a rush by Ramon Jefferson. So I mean, when you're such a good team as Sam playing a team that's, up and coming like Dixie State, you expected that game to be pretty ugly pretty quickly, and it was. Abilene Christian traveled out to Jacksonville State to take on the Gamecocks. There, Jacksonville State won that 40-25. Unfortunately, Jacksonville State's playoff hopes are basically still done for the year. They're a 5-loss team. They're not going to have any sort of chance at the playoffs, but they had bigger things happening for them with with their move to Conference USA, which we'll discuss here in a little bit. So the game of the week, honestly, this week was Eastern Kentucky, the Colonels going to Nacogdoches to face the Stephen F. Austin Lumberjacks. That final there, 31-17. Xavier Gibson had himself a game against Eastern Kentucky. But why this game was the game of the week? Because of the playoff implications. Stephen F. Austin had to win out the rest of the year. And they have a 2-game gauntlet that's happening right now. One against Eastern Kentucky, and the next one, as weird as it sounds, is going to Conway to play UCA on the Stripes. So, and if SFA wins out, they're 8-3, and they're honestly on the bubble for an at-large seed. Eastern Kentucky, if they manage to upset Sam this week and win out the rest of the way in their gauntlet, they'd finish 8-3 and probably be on the bubble for an at-large seed as well. So, and they would probably get over Stephen F. Austin, to be honest with you, if that would happen based upon their wins. So, very, very important game for SFA to get the win on. They did. Like I said, Xavier Gibson, the WAC player of the week, huge game for him. He had 3 touchdowns on the day, just cementing himself as the WAC, I think, as the WAC offensive player of the year. He honestly should be in the Peyton Award discussion, although I doubt he would win it considering Barrier and Gold folks, but he should still be in the discussion there. And then the last game, the Lamar Cardinals, they went to Stephenville to play Tarleton. Lamar is just that game 42-21, easy win for Tarleton. And like I said, Lamar, better luck next year, guys. Sorry for how bad your year has been. So let's look at the games upcoming this week, because there's some really big ones in terms of playoff implications. So let's start with I'd say there's actually 2 games of the week for the conference. So let's start with the first one. That's Eastern Kentucky goes back to Texas after playing in Nacogdoches. They go to Huntsville. They're going to take on Sam Houston in Huntsville. And this is the thing about this game is if this game was being the opposite, it was being played at Richmond, I might say Eastern Kentucky would have a chance at an upset because they're a pretty good team. However, Sam Houston does not lose in Huntsville. That's just something that does not happen. There are three things in life that are certain: death, taxes, and Sam Houston winning at Bauer Stadium. So I don't see Eastern Kentucky pulling the upset here, but man, if they did, the amount of chaos that would cause with playoff seedings would be huge. Still should be a good one to watch. I believe that's at noon and you can catch it on ESPN Plus. Definitely check it out. Should be a good one to watch. We got Tarleton traveling up the road to their former D2 rival, Abilene Christian. That's going to be an interesting one too, I think, to show just how good Tarleton is this year, or just how, maybe how bad Abilene Christian has turned out to be this year. But, that's a former rivalry game from their D2 days. Should be a great one to watch. That one's at 1 o'clock, I believe, on ESPN Plus. Jacksonville State travels down to Beaumont. That one's going to get ugly quickly, I would think, because Lamar, like I said, is just not a good team. So I would be very surprised if Lamar even puts up, 20 points on Jacksonville State. I think Jacksonville State wins that one big. The other game of the week, because of the playoff implications, Stephen F. Austin, they're up to Conway to play Central Arkansas on the Stripes. SFA needs to win this game because they need to win out the rest of the season. If they lose, the best they finish should be 7-4, and they wouldn't have the resume to consider to even sniff an at-large bid. So big one. I'm sure Colby Carthel will have his Jacks ready to go, but the Stripes with Braylon Smith and Winningham, that all the offense that they have up in Conway, I mean, that's going to be a very, very tough game. It's going to be, I believe at 4 o'clock on ESPN Plus. It's going to be hard to watch because it is on the Stripes, so I recommend tuning in that one. Catch that one after the Eastern Kentucky Sam Houston game if you want a back-to-back dose of WAC football on Saturday. I know I'm going to try to do that as well, barring any other sort of things. And then last but not least, Fort Lewis is going to travel to play Dixie State. Now, this could be Dixie State's first win of the year. Granted, it won't be a Division I win, but with the schedule they've had, man, like a win is a win for them. They've played, between Montana, they played Delaware, they played South Dakota State, they played Weber State. They have Sam Houston, SFA. They've just absolutely played a gauntlet this year. And of course, iron sharpens iron. So that should be thankfully this game should be a good win for them. It'll get them ready for the last their game the following week, the last week of the year, when they play Missouri State. So good luck to you guys, to Blazers. Hope you guys at least get one win this year, because it'd be really, really good for you to have one. So I see we got a few people watching, which is great. I want to address this other piece. I want you guys to go ahead and put your questions into. You can put them in here on YouTube, and be glad to answer them. But so I put this on Twitter yesterday, which you can follow me on my Twitter at the Rev SFA if you haven't, for all of your SFA and FCS needs. I said, hey, I'm going to record this live. Go ahead and put your questions here, and we had 2 questions. So I'm going to do Drew Stevens' first, because I really like this one. And he said, with it being quiet in your neck of the woods, where do you personally see SFA's direction with the Sam Houston State jump? What do you think the WAC ASUN looks like after 2022? I'm going to answer the first part of this, because another question I have kind of ties to the second part. So I don't know what SFA is going to do. I know what I would like SFA to do. I don't see SFA getting an invite to Conference USA. I don't think Conference USA wants SFA, although I think SFA would be a boon to them in other sports, especially basketball and some of the other Olympic sports, which, kind of stinks. But at the same time, if we look at where SFA stands as a school, especially if we look at their football stadium, they need a lot of renovations done to Homer Bryce. And I don't think with like with the cost that would be, then with the budget for being FBS, I don't know if they are fiscally ready to do that yet. I mean, I don't know. Things could change, especially what they've announced with the new NCAA, with them reviewing their own rules and things like that. And with all that's going on, there's so much up in the air. We could see. I mean, we could basically see the Power Five split off, and they could block the G5 out of the conference football playoff. And then what are you left, or college football playoff? And then what are you left with after that? You're left with the G5, basically either doing their own sort of playoff system, which is similar to FCS, and then you have FCS. Like, so you could potentially have 3 tiers of Division One. And I think some schools might have jumped the gun to try to get a spot, to ensure they have FBS, and some are waiting to see what happens. And I don't think there's a wrong decision with that. Because, when I look at Sam, and everybody calls me Sam hater, but, they made the decision that they felt was best for their brand and their university. And that's something that you have to do, because this is a business. It truly is a business. And they had to look at what was the best thing for them to grow. Now, the thing with Sam Houston is that they're going to be tight on cash. I mean, yes, the CUSA has a TV deal. It's about $400,000. They do have, as of now, some bowl tie-ins. It's about $1 million or so. But Sam probably needs $5 million a year to compete. And so what they're going to do is they're going to do a couple of things. They're going to have to probably start playing some bigger body bag games to get more cash. And then also you probably see the quality of home games for Sam not be as good. You'll probably see them, schedule FCS teams, or you might see the Texas State University system get games with with Texas State, their system mate, try to help them out. But remember, any home game that Sam has that's a non-conference game, they have to pay that team to come in. So I'll be interested to see. I've been also too asked what I thought about Battle of Piney Woods, and honestly, it's done until SFA goes FBS, or if Sam wants to pay CNF Austin to play it. It's you got to think about it. It's done at this point. It becomes a out of conference game, and it becomes basically a money game for SFA. That's the situation we're in. So the oldest rivalry in Texas short term is potentially done, which is kind of sad to see. But again, Sam had to make the move that was right for them. So to answer your question, I don't know where SFA is going to go. I would like them to, to weigh their options and make the one that makes the most sense for the university. But also at the same time, I don't want us to be house poor by jumping to FBS without the budget. So that's my answer, because like I said, we have so much to do with Homer Bryce. Granted, our other facilities, at least for basketball, are in great shape. We don't have to put the money in there because we've already done that. Baseball facilities, we don't really have good ones. So, hopefully we can get some more donations in, get an influx of cash, and we can look at, look at fixing up our football stadium and making it a little bit nicer place to play. The second question that I had that kind of ties in this, Richard Grant Turner, great Bearcat guy. He asked, with the current WAC teams, do you see a jump to FBS as a conference in the next 5 to 10 years? If not, what would have to be done? To answer that first question, no, I don't see a jump as a conference now, because the schools that would have led that, which is Sam Houston and then New Mexico State as a basketball thing, that's gone. So who do you have that's FBS ready in the conference? Nobody right now. Who do you have that has the money to do it? Nobody right now. Or they're very close. I think one team she might see kind of get a push earlier might be a team like Tarleton State. Tarleton State's part of the Texas A&M University system, for those of y'all who don't know, and Texas A&M has given them basically a big influx of cash to help with all sports. They've also had their drive for 15K, where they've been pushing to have 15,000 a game in attendance at their stadium. And Memorial Stadium is not a bad stadium. It's actually a pretty nice venue. I think they're eyeballing that push to FBS. I think they would be the ones who would be primed to go out of anybody first, because they do have the backing of the Texas A&M University system. Drew asked about SFA, and we talk about this with Texas. Texas, all states have this, but with the university system, Sam Houston's part of the Texas State University system, which also has Texas State, has Lamar, and it has, I think, Sol Ross State is the other one. Sol Ross is a D3 or D2 school, right? So Sam Houston does have some financial backing from the Texas State University system to help them with their athletic programs. Tarleton has Tarleton has, like you said, A&M system. Abilene Christian's a private school. SFA is independent. SFA is not part of any system. SFA system is SFA, and I think that kind of hurts them a little bit. Well, I've always thought it was cool that SFA wasn't part of a system because we can't be forced to make our name like Texas State Nacogdoches or Texas A&M Nacogdoches or East Texas A&M or any of that stuff. It's still SFA. There's not the financial backing from a system to help you grow, and I think that could be a detriment to SFA as they look for aspirations. It's going to count on more donations and more things like that, which SFA has been very good about getting donations in the athletic department, and they're in the middle right now of a $100 million campaign for the school, to get an influx of cash in. So, I trust as an SFA fan, I trust Ryan Ivey to make the right decisions for our school. So go back to the other question, where do I see the WAC? The WAC 5-10 years. I mean, the WAC's gonna have to pull from somewhere to get schools. They're gonna have to pull from the Big Sky and get some of the outliers like Northern Arizona, which I doubt they would get, or Weber State, which I doubt they would get, or maybe Northern Colorado, which again I doubt they would get. Maybe they go after a school like Cal Poly and see if they want to come in. Another thing they can do is pull schools up. They can look at schools like West Texas A&M, or they can look at schools like a Midwestern state, and try to get some of those really powerful D2 schools that have historically been good and get them pulled up to Division One. But I think that's the only way you say the WAC. I don't think the WAC can jump FBS, and I think losing New Mexico State is actually going to hurt any sort of chance of them planting their flag. With the NCAA rule changes and things like that, I think that ship has sailed. So I don't see the WAC going FBS. I think now it's going to be up to the individual schools to figure out what exactly they're going to do. And I will say this, losing Sam, which again, congratulations, Sam. You're making the jump. We can only applaud you, wish you the best. We can discuss on if we think it's the right decision or not, but congratulations. But losing Sam and losing New Mexico State hurts the WAC more than the ASUN losing Jacksonville State, for example. Like, that absolutely guts the WAC. It hurts them for all sports, not just football. And so, that it's just some bad news to see, but it's not surprising news. I'm going to go to this question, Will. I haven't ignored your question. First of all, it says, let's see if we can get up there. Will says, why will SFA or UCA beat SFA this weekend, and why are Stripes superior to Green Fields? Neither one of those things are true there, Will. Sorry. For those of y'all who don't know, Will is part of the Around the ASUN podcast with Brandon Owens, which you can catch right here on the FCS Fans Nation Network, as well as I think they have it on some of their other audio platforms. But UCA could beat SFA this weekend. UCA is not a bad team. They're a lot better than the record indicates. They have played well against their opponents this year. They absolutely just obliterated Jacksonville State, if you want to use it as a sort of a comparison. They hung in versus Sam Houston. But the thing with UCA is that UCA can't play a complete game. And to be fair, either can SFA right now. So it's kind of hard to determine who's going to win there. I think it's a toss-up. I think SFA needs to win more than UCA at the moment. So I think you're going to see Carthel come out with this team being very tenacious and try to get a win on the Stripes. And winning on the Stripes is a hard place to win because, well, it's the Stripes. It's the ugliest field in football. It's uglier than the Inferno. It's uglier than the Teal field in South Carolina. It's ugly. But it's effective, and it's a great marketing piece, and it's what it is. I actually wouldn't mind seeing other colored turf in football. I think that's actually a neat concept. I just think the Stripes are hideous. Sorry. So, yep. So, I would recommend watching that game, and we'll see what happens because, like I said earlier, SFA has to get the dub to even remotely keep their playoff hopes alive. And UCA doesn't have playoff hopes anymore. Their season's done. So yeah, that's what it is. Really quick. It's a really quick, quiet show this week. I think, part of it is I almost actually didn't even record this tonight because I'm still kind of worn out from work last week. But then two, I think there's still a lot to process when it comes to the conference realignment and conference movement. There's so much stuff still up in the air. It's interesting to see what's going to happen too with the AQ partner conference, the ASUN, see what happened, to see what's going to happen with that, with that group. Also, too, what's interesting is that McNeese State basically announced today they are turning down their invitation to the WAC. They're not going to go. I didn't see what Incarnate Word said because they were rumored to be going too, but McNeese State turning down the WAC is huge. Really hurts the WAC, and it makes you wonder. Yeah, it started to make me wonder why, and then I saw why. The Southland Conference basically just gave McNeese everything they wanted in terms of conference tournaments. They put the basketball tournament at Lake Charles. They put the baseball tournament at Lake Charles. They put they put everything in Lake Charles, and they also, I think, rumor has it said that if McNeese leaves, they don't have to pay any sort of exit fees. And McNeese has the desire and the drive to go to FBS. But getting all those conference tournaments at home, that helps. That's money for McNeese. They're having them at their sites. I mean, I think honestly having basketball in Lake Charles is better than having basketball in Katy, Texas, to be honest with you. So I think that was a good move. But McNeese turning down the WAC actually sort of hurts the WAC's image, right? The other thing that's been announced is that the OVC and the Southland are going to partner into an alliance. But I also have heard some rumors and some scuttlebutt that some of the Louisiana schools are going to start looking to other conferences as well. And honestly, if I was a betting person, which I am, I bet Southeastern Louisiana goes to the ASUN. I think that's the move that the ASUN needs to make. They need to bring in that program. It's a great program to have, great football program. They've really built up on their other sports. I think the ASUN needs to go after them, and it gives the ASUN sort of a footprint in the New Orleans area. So I don't think you'll see Southeastern Louisiana stick around in the Southland Conference very much longer. I think you'll see them go to ASUN. Well, thanks for giving me one more question. Would I rather see the WAC move up as a whole or SFA to CUSA? Honestly, neither. I don't want to see SFA to CUSA. I can tell you that now. I don't think the CUSA is a strong and sustainable conference. That geographic footprint they're trying to put together is completely insane. It's bigger than the WAC's one. I mean, if they added UMass as a school, even if it's for football only, or if they add in UConn for football only, your conference extends basically from the Northeast to Miami to El Paso. And that's just insane for budget reasons. And then not to mention, if we take those out for your Olympic sports, let's say UMass did join for, I guess you're not going to join for all sports, but let's say you have a big someone who's an outlier like that. Your Olympic sports, you're going to be just gassed for money. I mean, you're already going to have to send your basketball team and volleyball team to Miami to play Florida International. That's a lot of money to spend in a conference. What I secretly hope is the Sun Belt needs another school. I'm secretly hoping they're contacting SFA. I know that's not happening because the Sun Belt has made themselves such a great football program. They don't need SFA to make their stuff better. But if we can dream about it, I don't know what I want to see SFA do, Will, because I liked the WAC for all sports. I like the WAC for basketball, right? Because they had like Grand Canyon, they had New Mexico State, they had Utah Valley, they had Cal Baptist, great basketball programs in that conference. And now that's kind of going. I mean, you're losing New Mexico State, you're losing Sam. I don't know what I would like to see them do. I just want us to make the best decision that's best for our brand and best for our university. And I would also like for us to fix up Homer Rice Stadium and make it nicer looking. That would be my other big thing, is to make Homer Rice a nicer stadium to go visit, because right now, for any of you guys who's not been there, it's not bad, but it's not great. If I had a choice though, Will, I would like to see us go to the Sun Belt, maybe, but I don't think it's gonna happen, to be honest with you. Although, who knows what's gonna happen over the next few weeks? Who knows what's gonna happen with all these dominoes? Maybe SFA does get a CUSA invite. I mean, who knows at this point? With all the changes that are coming, with all the changes to the NCAA, things like that, just everything's still up in the air. It's kind of hard to see what's going on. So, yeah, enough about that. There's one other thing I want to touch on. I want to talk about playoff seeds real quick, because playoffs really, honestly, start in 3 weeks. We've got 2 weeks of football left, and that's it. I said at the beginning of the year earlier in this year, that if Eastern Washington and North Dakota State went undefeated, Sam Houston would not get a number 1 seed. Guess what? Both those teams lost. Sam Houston's going to get a number 1 seed unless they manage to trip over their own feet against Eastern Kentucky, which I don't see that happening this week. So congrats, Cats, the road to Bowers or the road to Frisco probably goes through Bowers. That means there's going to be some really great semifinal games because you're either going to get someone like North Dakota State or South Dakota State or James Madison in there, and that's awesome to see. Now, if I want to make this interesting, if Montana State goes undefeated, I think Montana State deserves a number 2 seed over James Madison. Montana State, if they go undefeated the rest of the way, they're going to be undefeated against FCS, with their only loss being against FBS Wyoming. If James Madison finishes out undefeated, their only loss will be against Villanova, which is a top 10 FCS team. I think, though, the resume leans towards Montana State. So I'd go Sam Houston 1, Montana State 2, James Madison probably getting a 3 seed, and then North Dakota State or South Dakota State getting a 4 seed. I think, honestly, it'll come back to North Dakota State. Even though South Dakota State did beat them, North Dakota State does have the better overall resume. South Dakota State's got some losses that are kind of questionable to Southern Illinois and to Northern Iowa. And I think Northern Iowa losing last week really honestly hurts South Dakota State's resume. So that's your top 4. So it looks like, as of now, it looks like the road to Frisco is going to go through Bowers. So more than likely, when I go to Frisco in January, I'll be seeing Sam Houston there because they don't lose in the playoffs at Bowers. So, all right, well, that's it. I'm going to keep this one short, guys. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks, for your questions, folks. Remember, this is part of the FCS Fans Nation Network. Great group of podcasts. Whether you watch the big show on Sunday with Matt, Kyler, and Jamie, or if you watch the Friday Night Live show that Chris Hammond puts on, or if you watch Around the A-Sun, which you mentioned earlier, the Jackrabbit folks, Talking Nation. There's a whole bunch of podcasts. That group has grown immensely in the few weeks. There's some great discussion. I don't know if you guys have seen this video. For those of you, and you may not care, but Matt Frazee put together a really great one about North Dakota State moving up and why it should or should not happen. I would recommend watching that if you haven't, because that's a really great informative video. So anyway, if you're seeing this on YouTube and you haven't liked it or subscribed to it, why haven't you done that? It's easy. Just click. You'll get notified. It makes your life easier. That means I don't have to go on to Facebook and say, hey, I'm going to be on. You can just click and it'll show up on your phone. Anyway, that's it for this week. Enjoy WAC football. We will talk to you guys next week. Have a great rest of your day.